A friend of mine, a local builder, was working alone once. He took off his hard hat to wipe away the sweat from his brow, just as a big piece of timber fell from the roof of the building and hit him square on the head. He came round minutes or possibly hours later, felt the blood in his hair, and went back to work. Another bloke I know was on a building that was being stripped. He knelt down to pick up some tools and managed to gash his knee quite badly on a piece of broken tile. He was sent to A&E, but when he found it was busy, he decided to self-medicate, sticking the flaps of skin together with superglue. He then returned to work. And on one demolition site, an occupational nurse that I know found cases of undiagnosed heart disease, undiagnosed liver disease, and undiagnosed hearing loss. Each of them got their diagnosis and went straight back to work. November is Men's Health Awareness Month, but like World Mental Health Day, Women in Construction Week, Pride Month, and a whole host of other notable day, week, or month long events, it will barrel towards this sector before taking a hard left turn and moving on to an industry in which men's health is seen as a right rather than an inconvenience. In the demolition and construction trade, we talk about health and safety non-stop. Trade magazines, toolbox talks, site inductions, briefings. We've got PPE, we've got harnesses, hard hats, high vis, risk assessments. We're relentless on the safety part, but the health bit, all too often it's filed under we'll deal with it later. So yeah, hard hats, steel-toed boots, ear defenders, all a requirement, all non-negotiable. But what about the bloke kneeling with the gash, bleeding and gluing himself so he can get back to site? What about the bloke whose hearing is shot, whose liver is flagging, whose heart is on the verge of giving up? The culture in our industry ensures that injuries get flagged, accidents get investigated, warnings get issued. But the slow burn stuff, the creeping health risks, those get shrugged off. And statistics back this up. In the construction industry, rates of work related ill health are significantly above average. Around 3,772 cases per 100,000 workers have been reported, while non-fatal injuries still sit at 2,388 per 100,000. So we're still getting injured and we're still getting ill. But what those numbers don't show is how many carry those injuries or illnesses into their working lives. Why does this paradox exist? Why can the industry handle a risk assessment but shy away when the risk is the worker himself? On site, you take a knock, you dust yourself off, you keep going. If you don't, the job moves on. Injury, apparently, is part of the job. So the builder who bled from his head, he came round, wrapped himself up, and got back to work, because that's what you do. The tradesman who used superglue instead of a hospital, because time off means lost earnings. Our focus is skewed to acute danger, not chronic health. Falls, crush injuries, slips, trips, falls. We're geared right into that. But what about hearing loss, cardiovascular disease, liver damage, early onset arthritis? None of those feature in RAMs or risk assessments and method statements in the same way, if at all. Men on site are less likely to visit the GP. Some can't or won't find the time. The macho trope. I'm all right, mate. I'll see a doctor later. Many in demolition and construction are on contract, shift, agency, moving from site to site. There's no fixed workforce you sit down at lunch with and say, right, let's talk about health. Inductions tick safety, but rarely health. Lone working, overnight stays, deadlines, travel, they all eat into the idea of care. Yes, we're now in Men's Health Awareness Month, but in many firms that message won't reach the bloke on the roof who shipped blood this morning and who is now thinking, I'll deal with this after this job. Here's the kicker. We insist on hard hats because we don't tolerate head injuries. We insist on ear defenders because we don't tolerate deafness from noise. We insist on boots because crush injuries are unacceptable. So why then do we tolerate the bloke walking around with a dicky ticker? Or the bloke who's been drinking to null the pain? Or the bloke who thinks, I'll see the doctor later and never does? The paradox is that health often isn't treated as part of safety. It's separate. And because of that, it's disregarded. And this isn't a short-term problem. This is a generational one. Men in this industry have carried that silence for decades. Fathers passed it on to sons. The narrative is written into the culture. You soldier on. you don't complain. Risk is external. Internal is your problem. And change won't come quickly if it comes at all. So this year, while others mark Men's Health Awareness Month in name, here in the field of demolition and construction, it will probably pass without comment or impact. Just the same as we don't comment when our backs twinge, when we have a pain in our chest, when we find pee in our blood, or when we're gluing our leg back together.
Now stand aside, worthy adversary.
'Tis but a scratch.
A scratch? Your arm's off.
No, it isn't.
Well, what's that then?
I've heard worse.